Hey guys, Jerry Beerman with Conduit, and today our podcast guest is a good friend of mine, Don Kennedy. Don Kennedy is the owner, operator of ProMaster Home Repair. Going back to hiring, so now
Yeah.
the listeners are building some cash. Um, are you willing to share like a dollar amount? When you say like build financial infrastructure makes sense. Um, I'd be interested in your perspective because I actually tell guys my opinion of cash. What are you mind? Do you mind sharing like what a
Yeah.
number might
I
be?
think a great target if you're in the trade service business, this may be different for construction build guys that have a lot of capital outlay to do a project with material acquisition and their receivables are longer. But
Sure.
let's say you're in a service business where your cash flow is really good, where your AR is short, right? We primarily service homeowners, so we get paid when the job's done. Okay, so this may be different depending on your business, but in a trade service small firm, 5 to 10% of your gross revenue at a minimum ought to be your cash reserve. So if you're doing $500,000 in business, we ought to see 50 to $100,000 in whatever collection of bank accounts you have as cash on hand. If you haven't built that yet, I would focus on that before you do anything. It's the same kind of stuff you may teach, like Dave Ramsey teaches, what, 6 months of expenses in your emergency safety fund before you think about investing. I think that's what he teaches, right?
Yep.
It's just a solid principle because believe me, I've violated that. And there's nothing more stressful, literally, when you're running around town trying to grab checks from your guys to get it in the bank before Wednesday, before that Thursday payroll draw, so you make payroll on Friday. Yes, I've done that, right? That's an idiot. I mean, it was being an idiot not keeping enough cash in the business so I could absorb those transient shocks. Because when you are just on the razor's edge all the time financially, it's an emotional place to be. And when
Yeah.
you're in an emotional place, you don't make sound decisions.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. And that's in alignment with what I say, what I've been taught. Sorry, what I say, what I've been taught. And again, some people are like, well, did you do that? It's like, well, some of the things that Don and I are sharing, it's like, hell no, I didn't do it. I
Yeah.
wish I would have done it. I didn't have somebody making me like that's one of the, but for me shall I go, Don, right? So one of the challenges we have as owners is, and one of the reasons that we went into business for ourselves, as you say, Jerry, I love you, man, but I could never work for you.
Yeah.
It's like, well, many of us can't work for anybody else. Like, man, I'm a handful. And so, again, I can't make you follow this advice. And I'm
Yeah.
not suggesting that I followed all the advice that Don's sharing today, but these are some, as you can probably hear the passion in my voice, Don,
Yeah.
is like, man, these are things that if you're married and have kids, then I'm talking to you different because
Mhm.
the amount of damage that you can do as a solopreneur to yourself is substantial. But you put a spouse and kids in there, man, and yeah, I mean, it's abuse. It is absolutely abuse. So build
Yeah.
that cash to your point, like you know, be patient and build the cash. All right, so we built cash. I got 50 grand, I
Yep.
got 100
Now we're
grand.
going to go hire someone and we're
Yes.
going to make some mistakes now. This is the first thing I don't care where you're at in your stage. You're going to
Yep.
get better at it, but you're going to make a lot of mistakes hiring.
Yep.
And that's okay. If possible, avoid family and friends. If possible.
And that's usually where we start. Yeah.
Don't There are exceptions to this. I understand. There are exceptions to this, but if you can, avoid family and friends.
All
Avoid
right.
people you know. Just
All right.
like I avoid doing business with people I know. Okay?
Yep.
It complicates it. It makes things very difficult.
Yep.
So, you talked about, well, should I hire a salesperson? Should I hire an ops person? Well, that's going to be dependent on your type of business. I mean, for most people in the trades, it's going to be somebody to help me get the work done, literally on a job site. Or maybe I need a project manager to manage my subs. So everybody's going to be different. In my world, if you're in trade service, it's probably going to be someone along the lines of business development. And it's going to have a lot to do with the size of your project, right? If you're a design build guy, you're a remodeler, maybe most of your leads come from architects or builders or other people. Well, that's relational. And so that's still something as the business grows. You're going to still be building those relationships and you get those those jobs, you get that work that way. You don't need a marketer. You don't need a business developer. But if you're like Jerry and I, and all your jobs are very, very small, they're thin margin, they're repetitive, you do high volume of them. Well, the only way you're going to grow, you can't build thousands of, well, Jerry can. Jerry's good at building thousands of relationships, but Don is not, right? And so early on in my business, I recognized even when a lot of other trade service businesses did not have a full-time marketer, I thought, you know what? The most important thing I can have to drive growth is I need somebody bringing business in. And so that's marketing, our website, on page, off page SEO, social media today, all that kind of stuff. But we were doing that back in 2007. Okay. And I was learning SEO and all that kind of stuff because we knew we needed to develop the business. So you just have to kind of look and try to project forward. What is it that I'm going to need? Right. Or maybe what is it that I don't have as a skill set or I'm unwilling to develop? And then that's the person you bring in.
Yeah, that's good. One of the things, and I don't know that this is good advice, but I've said this to people before, is that, and I'd love to get your opinion on this, is that eventually, like when I was in this phase, it was hell, man. I was working 7 days a week. And you know what the worst part about it is that even as a Christian, as a person of faith, I'd go to church and, I'd hear, even at church where I'd go to get a reprieve from the stress is like, the pastor or somebody from state, like, keep holy the Sabbath. And I'm like, I'm working 7 freaking days a week, man. And
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's smart to do, but I was doing it.
I
I
did too.
Don, I felt isolated at church. Like I couldn't even
Yeah.
get, I didn't get a reprieve from the pain going to church. And so, for the listeners to be like, man, does anybody get me? It's like, well, 2 of us do, like Don and I do. So sorry,
All
I
right,
got,
let's take a tangent on
yeah.
this because this is critical. I think this is, as I've talked to business owners, this I think is the number one thing that causes them to voluntarily fail. Okay, sometimes in your business, it is what it is. Your creditors come in, lock the doors, kick you out. Okay, that can happen, or it burns to the ground, or something of that happens. But when I watch guys and gals quit before they actually fail, this is the issue, and nobody wants to talk about it. Let's drill into this for a second. Okay. So one of the effects of the cultural Marxism that's seeped into our society over these years is this idea that the business, the for-profit enterprise is somehow exploiting other parts of society. It's that Engels Marx theory of oppressed and oppressor. Okay. People are even unaware of this thinking's going on. So how that trickles down to is, well, profit is therefore evil, and anyone who pursues profit is therefore evil, or at the very least, suspect. Okay. So what people don't understand is the tremendous sacrifice, and this is going to sound self-serving. So I don't talk about this anywhere else except around business
Well,
people
this is a
because no one
safe
else,
place to say, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
yeah,
These are our people.
would
Yeah.
actually disagree, think what I'm saying self-serving, what I'm saying isn't true, or I'm just right. So there's all this head trash in our society about business owners because we get lumped in with any for-profit entity, right? The big evil corporation, which some do exist, right? We get lumped in with those people, right? We get judged that way. So what ends up happening is the reality is, okay, this is what's going to piss people off when I say this, but it's true. Being a small business owner can be the most generous, sacrificial, Christ-like thing a person can ever do in life because you will kill yourself, you will sacrifice yourself and your family for the good of others, to do good to others, to provide for others materially and other ways, and you will kill yourself and you will work so hard to get nothing back, all the while, okay, there's professions that do that, but all the while not getting paid and not getting stroked or complimented.
Yeah.
Not only that, you get kicked in the teeth. People want more from you. People criticize you. People judge you. Oh, you're just a rich business owner. So this is part of what makes it such at times a discouraging, lonely, hopeless path for a lot of people. And they don't think anyone else can relate to that. And when you try to say that, you say, oh, well, you're just weak, Don. You're just self-serving, right? And so then all this faux virtue and posturing goes, and all this and none of it's helpful. And I think it's the main thing business owners don't even want to talk about amongst themselves.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
want to be real and honest about it. But that's the thing that often gets them. That's the thing that says, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. I can't take this anymore. because everybody in life, I don't care if it's in your marriage, I don't care if it's in the workplace, everyone has a point where when the relational equity gets too high and too painful for too long, they tap out.
Yep. All right. So I feel better. You feel better about that? Yeah, that's good.
Do you
Well, it's
feel
true.
validated? Do you feel understood, Jerry?
You know, the people that are listening right now or watching or like, you know, that are our people are like, hell yes, absolutely. I've said it, you've heard me say it a lot. I have felt like an alien even with my own family. I have felt like an alien in public settings. I have felt, and in full transparency, I still do, by the way.
Yeah,
You know,
me too.
when I'm with other owners, I don't, you know, you and I and other owner, we clearly, the listeners already know, we are not better than anybody. We are different. And it's not a good different, like, you know, again, if God's called you, and my belief is that like God called me to my purpose, if you will, is to build people that build businesses. It's my passion, it's my mission. And so when I'm with other owners, I'm like, I get you. Like we can just, I can even on a Zoom call, I can smell the bat. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
I can smell the battle on you. I can see it in your,
yeah.
when I look into the white of your eyes or the blood,
Mhm.
the bloodshot eyes, right? Because your ass is up at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock on a Saturday morning, getting the work done, which again isn't a badge of honor. It's not a badge of honor. It's just the reality of keeping things going. So, all right, here's where I was going with the hiring piece
Yeah.
is and I want your opinion on this because I have been suggesting this to other people and I'd love to know what your thoughts are because I don't know that I'm right. I'm just telling people what I actually did, right?
Yeah.
Which is again, like, you know, I want to know what you did and then I'll determine if I want to do it. But what I did myself in the growth stage, which just sucked, man, as we're talking about, I'm like, God, it was hard. I remember having a box of I subleased our office, and the guy I subleased it with was in the, you know, clothing, hat, you know, business, whatever they call that,
Mhm.
right? So he had a box of old white hats that he couldn't sell, and they anyway. I don't know. There were 50 hats. I took these hats and I put it around the perimeter of the room, and I took masking tape and I wrote on there all the different roles and responsibilities I had. And I filled the room of all these jobs. And I remember I took pictures of it. I don't know where those pictures are. I'm going to have to recreate this for the Conduit members. But what I started doing is looking for the best person available. So I'm going to speak to hiring. I was looking to get rid of those damn hats. I did want to build a legacy business, right? I did want to build a legacy business. And I knew eventually I was going to have to hire somebody to wear the different hats. So when I was hiring, and I found the best available, like as I came across somebody that I thought was of the same fabric of values that had some competency with that hat, I started hiring them. What do you think about that generally and or specifically? How would you advise others?
I don't know. I'm in the same boat you are. I can only tell you what worked for me, and this may resonate with you. So early on in the business, I thought, well, what do I definitely not want to be doing, and what's not a good
That's
use
good.
of
Yeah.
my time
Yeah.
in order to develop the business? So in our world, it was taking all of the inbound communication, answering the phones, answering emails, responding to employees, guys that are calling in, running schedules. So a lot of the daily, minute to minute operational communication and coordination for me to have somebody that's scheduling, answering phones, setting up appointments with clients, that type of thing. I still did it off and on. I'll take overflow even to this day, even though I'm out of that side of the business. I'll hop on the phone an hour a month just to take a call from, so just so I can remember what it's like to hear from a customer, what it's like to book a service call, keep my skills up. Okay. This was something I learned in the military. Even the old commanders would still get out in the jet and go fly with us because they wanted to keep their skills up every once in a while. I always want to be a leader, then I still know if I had to do everything in the organization from fixing a truck to taking a call. Okay. But you offload that. And then you move on to the next thing that's starting to become really, really taxing. What is weighing me down? And so from there, it was that marketing, sales, business development piece. I was trying to do all of the marketing myself, from developing the website. And I'm a geek, and so I'm good at that kind of stuff, but developing the website and setting ads and collateral and all that kind of stuff. Well, now we need to get somebody to do that. But the thing that I think I did differently than a lot of people, and again, this is just a style thing and it's just a Don Kennedy thing, that if I were a baseball coach, I'd have a full team of utility players. I wouldn't have guys that just pitched or just played second base or were only outfield or were only designated hitters. Everybody on my team would be a utility player and at least be able to play 3 or 4 positions, if not all of them. And here's why.
Yeah.
When you hire utility players, what can happen is then when somebody quits or somebody's on vacation, what we have always done, and I have always done, because we did this in the military, everybody's cross-functional. There's always someone in the organization at a minimum that can do someone else's job if they leave. Okay. If you can have 3 people, right? So you can have triple redundancy, even the better. But what I would start to do is identify in your company, even if it's only 2 or 3 people, where are the single points of failure, and then cross-train people so that they can cover for one. And so that's the way we've grown, is when something gets really big, then we have a position that's their primary responsibility, but they're always going to be cross-trained in the other things to keep the machine running. Does that make sense?
Hell yes. I'm putting a big note of that because as you're saying that, some of this is like bringing back some great memories too, by the way, of although the growth stage was a shit show for me, that
Yeah,
utility
me too.
play, that utility player still today is one of the most valuable players. We talk about like linchpins, like
Yeah.
somebody that's a linchpin in your organization. Man, if they're a utility player, wow, that's awesome.
I only hire utility players. Only. I do not, I refuse to hire a specialist. So if anybody says, hey, that's not, you're done. I have no use for somebody. One of my sayings, I teach young people all this time,
Yep.
clean a toilet every day that's not yours,
Yep.
figuratively and literally. I literally, most days, clean the toilet, right? Other people clean the toilet too, right? But there should be nothing in an organization that is beneath anyone. I teach my guys in the field, anything that you can help a customer with and they want to pay us, help them with it. Don't be a job snob, right? There should be nothing beneath you or nothing that you say, well, that's not my responsibility. If it needs to be done and you have the ability to do it, that's my kind of people.